and functional nutrition and practical and all the rest of it without throwing anything out. Do you believe that if a person is going to eat well and they're going to actually, feed their body in a way that's going to, really help balance their hormones and all of those systems, is this going to also help with inflammation? Because inflammation is definitely the big thing. I mean, it happens in people's brains, it's happening in people's, bodies, their immune systems, everything. Is it going to actually assist with that?
Absolutely, it will. One of the things that for nutrition, there's macronutrition and micronutrition, two different things. People think mostly of the macronutrition. They say, well, I get enough I get this many carbs, I get protein, I need, these things in the macro, and they look in the big picture. That's important for your gut. One of the things that's the most important for your gut is it likes to eat fiber. It likes to eat a variety. Your microbiome likes to help with a variety of different fruits and vegetables, a lot of different vegetables. And when you eat the same thing every day, I know people who do that. I'm even married to one who tends to like to eat the same thing. I keep telling him, we need to do something different, try a new vegetable, because it's that variety which is fabulous. And so trying new things, that's one way to look at it. And that will help the inflammation in helping balance the bacteria, the microbiome. Now, micronutrition is another thing. When we were hunter-gatherers, we often, in a lot of cultures, choose herbs, bitter herbs, or things to add. So it's really wonderful to add herbs and spices to your meal. These herbs actually do more than just give you nutrition. A lot of research has gone into this, and I was proud to be part of the little beginnings of it in the inflammation lab I was in. But specific plant nutrients and in specific ratios in small amounts can actually help processes in our body work better. I know that sounds outlandish, but it's not outlandish. It actually works. They have found you talked about all the pathways in the body and how amazing the body is with all the different pathways and the communication going on in the body. Well, these plants help the communication work better. They help encourage it. Can I give an example?
Please.
Okay, so we're talking about inflammation and we're talking about gut health. And the reason gut health is important is as a dysbiosis, a gut that's not healthy, increases inflammation significantly. But most people don't know that in our bodies, there are cells, lots of cells of our body.
My name is Terry Messenger, and I am
Hey, and welcome to Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. And, this is the place and the space where you are going to get your own free masterclass absolutely free.
Hey, and welcome to this week's edition of Terry Messenger's Genius Zone. So this is where we bring in people that have had life experiences, they've had knowledge, and they have developed their purpose and their passion through what they've lived, what they've breathed, and they are going to share that like a free masterclass with you. And today is about having a healthy gut and a healthy life and connecting yourself with your greatest sense of health and vitality and lifestyle so that you can be your greatest self. Now, this lady that I'm about to bring on, she was involved in the medical field as a medical researcher where she focused on inflammation studies, enrolling patients, analyzing how inflammation drives disease. Now, this is probably one of the biggest problems that we have actually in the world. Every disease probably has some kind of a cell about it that reflects inflammation. So her professional world shifted dramatically, and then she also had the experience of her own son who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now, this lady has definitely developed a purpose and a passion through what she has been through watching what happened to her son. You may be very interested to find out how your gut can be also controlling your moods and how it can starve the brain when it's not treated well. It can cause panic, anxiety, depression. And you are going to find out some very, very helpful tips and tricks, just as I have, by listening to this incredible woman. So with no further ado, I give you the wonderful Robin Thomas. Hello, Robin. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing fine. I'm doing well.
Awesome. And whereabouts are you?
I'm in Chapel Hill, North Carolina in the United States, and it's early morning here.
It is indeed. It's still dark. And yet it's dark here because I'm at night. So I'm on the other side of the world. So, you know, being a medical researcher, you got to really see up close and personally about, you know, what inflammation was doing to people. And I know that there is a lot of talk around this. And then, of course, you have the experience that must have been quite tragic with your son and, you know, what happened to him. So can you just go through that and what happened to his brain as a result and what that meant for him as a result of him suffering from a lot of inflammation and a lot of things that do stem from the gut and, you know, obviously diabetes?
Absolutely. My son actually is now 35, but he was only 17 months when he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And at that time, my co-workers actually were helping work through that diagnosis. But at that time, they didn't know how important it was to keep babies on insulin, to be very cautious with it, because what happened is they wanted his blood sugars to stay very, low, normal. That's what they wanted. But in doing so, he ended up, the insulin pulled all the glucose from his brain, or not all, but a lot of it, and in different aspects of low blood sugars starved his brain, and he ended up without a short-term memory. He can get the long-term, but he has no short-term memory. So that was sort of the initial.
Yeah, and you say that it also had an effect on his moods and the fact that his gut, because obviously, as I said to you backstage, you know, hindsight is 20/20 vision. And as a medical researcher and someone who knows what you know and really taps into bringing in the right people and the right experts to help people, I feel that this is going to be so important, because there's people out there that are suffering from, you know, depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And there's people that are suffering autoimmune diseases. There's people that are like my husband, who are in a now fatally critical disease that, I mean, I could almost put it down to perhaps something what you have spoken about, because he's got a sporadic version of CJD. Now, I didn't tell you that. So that means he's in a fatally critical position. And the whole thing is, we are doing exactly what you're going to be sharing on this show in terms of lifestyle, in terms of looking after his gut. And there is no cure to CJD. However, he is a miracle every single day. And I'm wondering how many diseases could be prevented, because his did start, he was also a diabetic. And it's quite interesting how you say that your son's brain was starved from oxygen. And as a, you know, as a result, that has led him to a brain injury. So I think there's too much of this actually happening in our world. So, you know, why is the gut so important? You talk about it being the gut brain, and I know that I certainly have heard about, you know, the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. And why is the gut so important?
Well, the gut has so many, it has a microbiome. So we have, the gut has organisms. We have small, tiny microorganisms living in our gut. And it, depending on what ones are living there, they either can help damp down inflammation, or they increase inflammation significantly. So it's the microbiome actually helps with hormone regulation. It helps with the immune system, and through the vagus nerve, it does have a connection to the brain. And that's why when your gut is not healthy, then this anxiety and this panic feeling comes up.
Now, who would have even known that? That's walking around today taking antidepressants and wondering why they feel so bad. You know, I haven't heard of a doctor that has actually said, you know, you need to look after your gut to get rid of, you know, that's going to make such a huge difference. And, you know, I do want to say to our listeners as well that there is definitely a collaboration with medical versus the other integrative element that you believe in. And I think that that really makes for a really healthy and practical way forward for people that are suffering illness, because we are certainly not telling anyone on this show to cease seeing your medical practitioners. Robin was clearly a deep researcher of that. Let's talk about the vagus nerve, because you did put a lot of emphasis on this. And, you know, I don't think people are aware of this enough, and that communication bridge between the gut and the brain. So how does that work?
So the vagus nerve starts like at the base of your brain back here, and goes down to and is connected to the gut too. So it's a direct communication between the brain and the gut. And I know there's different ways to approach healing. There's the direct approach to healing the gut, which is going to help the vagus nerve and help the brain. That's going to help. And it also can go the other way. You can help the gut heal by helping stimulate the vagus nerve. And there are different massages people can do with vagus nerve, or practices like meditation helps. And then one is my favorite is, for me, going out in nature helps. So there's just ways you think that would calm you is going to help your gut health too. And the ways that we're going to talk about, lifestyle ways that can help heal your gut, is going to help that vagus nerve help calm your brain.
That's so interesting. You know, I feel like there's this very spiritual communication between my husband and myself, because he is nonverbal. So, well, he is nonverbal now. I mean, he was a really good communicator before. He was a chiropractor. But interestingly enough, I tend to shadow what he used to do, and he used to deal with the vagus nerve with his patients a lot. It's a shame he didn't go to see himself a little bit more often. But one of the things that I am, doing with him is I'm stimulating that part right there, because I know that's where he placed a lot of emphasis with his own patients. And obviously, getting that stimulated. And I can see that even though he can't speak, I can see his face and his eyes literally light up, when I am actually massaging that part. So tell me about the fact that the three brains, as Megan Rossi says in her book, A Happy Gut is a Happy Life. And you've obviously studied this, and this is something that, you are a great ambassador for. But she says the three brains, being the head, the heart, and the gut, are in constant communication through neural and biochemical pathways. Can you talk us through that?
Isn't the body wonderful? It's just an absolute... there's so many different pathways in the body, and it talks to itself. Every cell in your body talks to another part. It just goes along, not just for the neurons, like the vagus nerve neurons, but even other ways. There's other ways chemically. And when I mean chemically, I don't mean people think of chemicals, they think chemicals are bad. No, I mean every single thing you have around you, everything you eat, food is, in my mind, scientific mind, a chemical. So there's different ways that they talk to each other, and that's important. That balance is what's important. The heart and the gut and the brain, they all need each other. These types of brain, you call it. The gut brain really, it's an awful lot of how it helps our brain think, because it has to be healthy for us to be able to function well. And then all these different lifestyle choices is what helps these talk together.
So when people are wanting to be smarter or calmer or clearer or have more clarity, you tell them to go and deal with the gut microbiome so that it can come into balance. But can you talk to me a little about the microbiome? Because you were speaking about this backstage, and obviously it's all terminology. But apparently when the gut microbiome is out of balance, it actually triggers panic attacks, anxiety and low mood, and disrupts hormonal balance and metabolism, as you have already told me. So can you talk me through that and maybe explain that to our listeners so they can get to understand about that concept?
So it's something that even physicians haven't brought to the surface. They're beginning to, physicians are beginning to, the ones that are, if you call functional physicians, they're looking more at the whole body, because physicians tend to love to specialize in one thing. So I don't want to pull out the gut as the only thing, but the gut.
But can I just say something on that note, Robin? You are not. You are like, to me, I've just sat with you for nearly, like an hour, and I've got all this incredible knowledge from you. And what I've discovered is it's not really about one thing here anyway. It's about how that orchestrates like a tree of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what I've heard, like, healing the gut and rebalancing the vagus nerve is calming the body and restoring harmony. So that, to me, I didn't know that an hour ago, but I do now. But it's certainly not just reflective of one thing. It's how the gut is operating so many elements of our lives.
Now, that's so true. And there's certain organisms, people may not even know what a microbiome is. We have a microbiome in our gut. We actually have a microbiome on our skin too. We couldn't live without these organisms. Don't be afraid of them as germs. We need these to help us. They need those. The microbiome in the gut is a colony. It's a community of different types of microbes. And there's certain kinds that are helpers, and there's certain kinds that actually cause harm and cause inflammation. So that I don't know if you've ever seen a baby with thrush or candida,
Yes.
Okay. So my son, his gut went so bad that he wasn't able to digest food. Food came out, food. It's food.
Wow.
No digestion happened. And he also had a severe candida infection all over him. So I knew there was something wrong with his gut with that. I mean, it was just obvious. And the doctors still didn't want to address it. But that is to the extreme. But even amongst us walking around, the balance of the microorganisms in the gut is so important. And it is so important to help encourage the good bacteria and encourage them to function well so they can do their jobs. And as we were talking, they actually help your hormone balance. They help with the anxiety. They help damp down the anxiety. They also help with your immune system. They help with that too. So it is important to make sure we find a balance in our gut, to have a balance in our whole body, balance in our life.
Yeah. And I know that you are a very strong advocate of getting with nature as well, and encouraging people to get out in nature, hug a tree, walk in the grass, be barefoot. But you also talk about the fact that it's important for them to do something that they want to do, that, they'll enjoy. Obviously that's going to increase all of the endorphins naturally in the body as well, right? But Tell us about what happens to a person who's locked up in a ward in a hospital. What can they do if they can't get out in nature?
Well, that was very interesting. I read a study just a couple of months ago, a study on this. People have known for a long time that we are wired to love nature. Years and years and years in the past, we have been involved with nature. And so when we go back to nature, it's like going back to your roots. But if you're in a hospital, if you're not unable to get out of the hospital bed, they first started with if it has a window out so they can see a tree or see nature, that helps. But then they found out if they put up pictures of nature in the hospital room, that helped also. So it's
Wow.
this something that like you said, your serotonin level goes up because you see nature. And this happens, I mean, even to the having nature on your computer screen when you're going on the backboard of it. It's just it's an amazing thing, and wonderfully people are researching this, and so it's coming out.
That's amazing. I love your scientific brain and the research, and yet all of this natural, collaborative, integrative elements that you're bringing to the table here. And speaking of which, we're going to talk about how important nutrients are, the power of micronutrients and functional nutrition. Now, firstly, can you explain to me what functional nutrition is? I'm sure there are people out there that are going to really want to understand that, especially if they want to get themselves healthy.
And I want to make sure people know that I don't throw out the science. I don't throw out the straight medical practice, but I believe that we really need it to be integrative. Integrative, like if you ever see geese flying or ducks flying in a V, that's that lift they get from each other. So integrative medicine, functional medicine is looking at the whole body and doing different things that all lift the entire body to balance it all together. Functional medicine is more specific in that they're really trying to find the root cause of whatever is going on in your body, and they're investigators that really look at the whole body first. Unlike many in the medical profession, which rightly so, they become experts in specific topics, but they always look with more narrow view. They look to their expertise.
Sure, yeah. And, do you feel too that supporting, obviously what you're talking about here, both with nutrition and functional nutrition and practical and all the rest of it without throwing anything out, do you believe that if a person is going to eat well and they're going to actually, feed their body in a way that's going to, really help balance their hormones and all of those systems, is this going to also help with inflammation? Because inflammation is definitely the big thing. I mean, it happens in people's brains, it's happening in people's bodies, their immune systems, everything. Is it going to actually assist with that?
Absolutely, it will. One of the things that for nutrition, there's macronutrition and micronutrition, two different things. People think mostly of the macronutrition. They say, well, I get enough I get this many carbs, I get protein, I need these things in the macro, and they look in the big picture. That's important for your gut. One of the things that's the most important for your gut is it likes to eat fiber. It likes to eat a variety. Your microbiome likes to help with a variety of different fruits and vegetables, a lot of different vegetables. And when you eat the same thing every day, I know people who do that. I'm even married to one who tends to like to eat the same thing. I keep telling him, we need to do something different, try a new vegetable, because it's that variety which is fabulous. And so trying new things, that's one way to look at it. And that will help the inflammation in helping balance the bacteria the microbiome. Now, micronutrition is another thing. When we were hunter-gatherers, we often, in a lot of cultures, choose herbs, bitter herbs, or things to add. So it's really wonderful to add herbs and spices to your meal. These herbs actually do more than just give you nutrition. A lot of research has gone into this, and I was proud to be part of the little beginnings of it in the inflammation lab I was in. But specific plant nutrients and in specific ratios in small amounts can actually help processes in our body work better. I know that sounds outlandish, but it's not outlandish. It actually works. They have found you talked about all the pathways in the body and how amazing the body is with all the different pathways and the communication going on in the body. Well, these plants help the communication work better. They help encourage it. Can I give an example?
Please.
Okay, so we're talking about inflammation and we're talking about gut health. And the reason gut health is important is as a dysbiosis, a gut that's not healthy, increases inflammation significantly. But most people don't know that in our bodies, there are cells, lots of cells of our body, and in each cell, the cells have the ability to make an enzyme that fights inflammation all on its own.
Wow.
And that is, so this inflammation, we think about antioxidants. So you think about antioxidants with the fruits and vegetables. That's why doctors say you have to eat, we eat that many servings of vegetables and things. Those antioxidants are coming in. But antioxidants coming in like that it takes a lot to fight inflammation in a body. Now, when you have the herbs with it, and if you have the herbs in certain ratios, they turn on a pathway that makes the cells inside the cell make its own enzymes that fight inflammation hundreds of times more than just the straight antioxidants you eat. And
Wow.
This is fairly new research, fairly new. And so not many people know about that yet.
Well, it's almost like the innate intelligence of our nervous system. And, what I'm hearing you say is that this is where our innate intelligence can wire and fire together like spark plugs of, with the right nutrients, bringing about cellular health and turning on the body's internal healing mechanisms. And I mean, it doesn't get better than that, when it comes from, inside of us. And obviously you've talked a lot from the scientific place of plant-based. What happens if we, are you saying just a small amount of plant-based, compounds?
Not really. I really believe that we are all individuals, and adding more plants is always good. But not all of us work well with complete plant-based. Some people do. Some people do, but some people don't. I personally, I was at a training facility and an integrative health facility, and they were feeding us basically a very high vegetable diet, which is great, but only a tiny bit of salmon. And I became very sick, and I went to the dietitian there, and I don't know why I'm getting so sick. And they did some studies on me, and they said, "Oh, you need more meat. You need meat to function well." Mm-hmm. So they gave me some meat. They prescribed some chicken, and here I am. Everybody else is eating plates filled with vegetables, and I was prescribed just to eat chicken for one day.
I'm with you all the way. I'm a carnivore from way back. And I think we do need to
I
know
don't
that,
dictate.
don't we?
I don't dictate that everybody should do this.
No,
Fine.
absolutely. It depends on your blood type. And apparently, my blood type actually does warrant for me to eat meat. I don't know how these people don't eat meat, but I'd probably be like you and wilt if I was just fed just vegetables. And I'd be terribly bored as well. I do have to confess that. So, and your mentor, Dr. Wentz, states that when you nourish the cell, you nourish your whole body. And I know because I do the mindset work. So I look up to Deepak Chopra, and he talks about the cells. And because he is a medical practitioner, he did a study and he was working out why some people that were diagnosed with terminal cancer just died very quickly, and then others didn't. And in fact, some of them went into remission. And what he did was he did the whole microscope and came to know, and his theory is that our cells of our body are constantly eavesdropping on our thoughts. So I know, while you're bringing this incredible information, here, and also lifestyle, I know that when you've got that healthy mindset, and if you can keep a happy mindset too. I mean, they've shown it. Have you seen about the scientific things where they've got water and they've got a whole, people to put hate into the water, and the water changes color to the people that actually, put love. So there's got to be some link there, isn't there?
There's got to be. Like I said, it's the whole body. This is very interesting because Dr. Myron Wentz, who I do admire greatly, is not a physician. He's a scientist, a microbiologist, immunologist. But he knew about what you just said because he decided to start an organization. It's a medical institute. It's a working medical hospital, but it brings in all that you're saying. It brings in that heart, brain. It brings in the energy work and all the different things that we can do to help ourselves. And I was there for training, and I did experience that myself. It's not just diet. It takes it all. It takes all of the above.
Yeah, which leads me to your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cornerstones here. And I'll let you open it out. And some of it we've obviously already touched on. But it's just what I love to bring to the show so that people can really get deep value. But it's the lifestyle part that you really love to specialize on, with all the knowledge that you bring to the table, and healing through conscious choices. So the functional wellness, you understand it's not just about what you eat, it's how you live. And that's what I love about the work you do. So perhaps you can kind of open this up a little as I just kind of flip through very quickly those 5 cornerstones. So Robin encourages small mindful habits. There is a bit of a hack that I'm sure that we can start off with before we cover these 5 cornerstones, which is the writing. Now, I know a lot of people talk about journaling, but I think there's more to it with what you have said to me, because it's about assessing your feelings and associating it with the food and how they feel. Do you want to just open that up so that people can really learn a practical way of using journaling to understand their feelings?
Journaling is very important. There is a connection when you, and it doesn't happen when you type on a computer. You want to write.
One.
Yes, that's the connection. But it's also learning how to listen to your body. And so whether you want to journal in the morning, a lot of people, one of my mentors actually teaches me to, have a morning ritual, a morning routine, and do some journaling. How do I feel this morning? What can I do to energize myself? What can I do to make, if I'm not feeling the greatest, what can I do? That kind of thing. I also like assessing how the day went. So, and just at the end of the day, okay, how was my day today? And how can I make tomorrow a better day? Or how it helps you think about, okay, what did I eat? And maybe did that affect how I felt? That's just one little item. It could be, how did I react to bad news? Or how did I react to something that just didn't go well that day? And how maybe would be a better way to do it. It's really learning about yourself. I think journaling is talking to yourself and learning about yourself and helping yourself improve the ways you do things.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And here is a classic, because it only happened this week. I do feel that I've been given this amazing gift where if something's not good for me and it's going to really, be a bad thing sooner or later, the universe, God, whatever you want to call the hierarchy of my body and soul, will just come in with something that is just going to make me feel so dreadful. It's going to stop me from going further with it. And one of the things I cannot have in food is MSG. And I absolutely love biryani. And I've been eating so much biryani, and I've been sort of experimenting from different places. And I went into a new place and I ate it. And the next day I woke up and my mouth tasted like the bottom of a cockie's cage. Not that I've ever eaten the bottom, but I felt like, I literally felt like I was a smoker, and I'd been drinking heavily, and I felt my body felt dry, like, just from the inside out. And I immediately knew that it was food that had put me into that position, and it changed my mood. And it's a bit like alcohol. And this is where you say, you're not just about one thing. It's not just about the gut. This is about everything. It's the whole tree of life. And I even came to know that, alcohol has a very big kind of an impact on how you feel the next day. People take it for the dopamine at the time, but then just to find that they wake the next day feeling low. So it literally ends up robbing you. So, this is where, if you look at Robin's healthy lifestyle, and by the way, we will put it in the show notes. Robin does have a free Facebook group, and she brings in experts so that, and I can't think of anything better than that, because I appreciate more than ever, now that my husband's in the position that he is in, how important cellular repair is, how important the gut brain is, how important, it is to keep inflammation at bay. And so we can't underestimate the power of this. So just check out the show notes. You will find the link to be able to join that Facebook group. And I'm not sure, you might be able to get in directly if you click it. But we will give all that information after. But now we come to the end of the program. And, I always love to say to people, if you could share something that you got off the show and you went, oh, I would have really liked to have said that. And there is so much you do bring to the table. But I am going to touch on your 5 cornerstones, and they are sleep, movement, nature with therapy, which is, I think you talked about, what was it? Forest bathing?
Forest bathing or grounding with nature. Sometimes people say it that way.
Emotional awareness, which is what Robin was just touching on, and joy and connection. So with those 5 cornerstones, would you like to just open up and speak on what comes to you that is important for the listener?
I always talk about balance. And one of the things I do have, a tool I have, is a balance wheel. I made it a flower because I like nature. But if you think about, how do you feel? How is your sleep? Or how is your, how are you, do you have a community? Do you have people around you that are supportive or anything like that? Any of these 5 points, you can tell if you have, if you're really off on one thing. So when people come to me, I know a lot of different things and different lifestyle things, but I don't throw the whole boat at them. It's let's find out what we can work on to bring the balance a little bit closer to having a good whole. And then the rest will come. The rest will come. And then reassess after 6 months, 3 to 6 months, reassess and see if, maybe at that point you've gotten very good. You've added meditation in your life. You've added daily, step outside and maybe barefoot in the grass if it's warm enough, or just walking through the woods if you can. And it's something else you want to work on. Or maybe you start with the food, so that's what I would say is it's all about making that clunky wheel a nice, smooth, balanced one.
I love that. That's so good. And I love, being kind of really aware and utilizing the journaling, because the body doesn't make mistakes, it makes messages. And when we listen, we heal. So this is what Robin, who is the founder of Living Well Connections, these are just some of the philosophies. And inside that group, you are also going to meet with a lot of other experts. So if you are really centered around, building, resilience, ridding inflammation, balancing hormones, feeling better emotionally, reconnecting with your body's innate intelligence, this is the lady. So what would you say? You've got the Over 40 and Fabulous podcast as well. So we're going to recommend people to definitely head over and listen to that for those loving lifestyle tips. Are there any last words that you would love to share before we close the show?
I would. Sometimes the hardest part is getting started. And I do like to help people start with one step. Don't feel like you have to do everything at once. Go into a boot camp kind of thing. You don't have to do that. If that's something you love, that's okay. But just take one step toward better health, and you will never regret that.
You're a gentle spirit, Robin, and I love your bespoke approach, and the fact that you pride yourself, and you made this very plain to me at the beginning, and that was exactly what you just said. and also being able to listen deeply and wholly to that client with that real individualized approach. So you're not just a practitioner that says boom, 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 boom. You are an active listener who meets each client where they are. And, you know, I'm really loving the physical, emotional, and the nutritional aspects of what you are all about. And yeah, I just want to thank you so much for, you know, bringing, you know, your scientific knowledge, your medical research, your incredible knowledge of nature, and integrating that for our listeners on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a delight.
Thank you. Have a great time, and I look forward to joining your group.
Our show where we have explored through this various topic, along with all the exciting new topics that we bring every week to enhance your personal mastery of excellence. Now, I'd love you to do me a favor. In fact, be part of the Legacy 1 million that I have in the vision for 2028. If you know someone who really would benefit from this recording, from this episode, please share it with them. And when you subscribe, you get notified every week of our episode as soon as it drops. So let's do that legacy thing. Let's share, let's care, let's enrich. And I look forward to bringing you another week of the most enriching content. So until next time, stay inspired, stay awesome, and keep on mastering your excellence.